Good people. Welcome back to the Blerd Brain podcast, where melanin meets the multiverse, where blackness meets the beyond. I am your host, Moses. So let's get into the shit. Today's episode is episode 2. This is actually what I wanted to speak about specifically on episode 1, but I wanted episode 1 to be more quick, just an introduction to the podcast. But I've had this conversation with men and women alike, comic book blerds and comic book and non-comic book blerds alike. Because anytime this topic comes up online, it immediately turns into this toxic men versus women thing. So I want to slow it down. I want to add some nuance and actually just have an opportunity to think and possibly offer some opinions that a lot of people out there might have and may not be able to express, or some just may not have thought of. What I'm talking about today are women-led comic book movies and TV shows. So MCU, DCEU, and why so many of them just don't work. And before anybody starts tightening up their fists or tightening up and getting all, swole up around the neck and the chest, let me be very clear from the jump. This in no way, shape, or form is a women shouldn't lead superhero projects take. It's quite the opposite. So just listen. This is not a misogynistic take. This is none of that. I love, contrary to belief, there are some of us who do love powerful woman characters, leading powerful woman characters. I've been reading comics since 89, 90. I grew up on thinking Storm was the dopest and still think Storm is one of the dopest. Excuse me. I wasn't a huge Wonder Woman fan, but She-Hulk, I have a couple She-Hulk comic books. I was a fan. I'm a fan of, and I think there are a lot of comic book enthusiasts who just love the characters, regardless of what type of tools they were born with. Just love the characters. So when these projects fail, I don't blame the idea of a woman-led story. I blame the execution, because two things can be true at the same time. Yes, let me fully admit that yes, scratch that. I'll even say most of the backlash comes from chauvinist, insecure, peasy head ass dudes that just don't want a woman front and center, that can't stand to see a woman in a strong, demanding character that they themselves probably couldn't pull off, right? Somehow these characters that are made up make them feel less than, which is a whole other, I don't even have the degree or the knowledge to delve into that. And also, the second thing that can be true at the same time is that Marvel and DC often do a terrible job writing female characters. So, let's talk about it. My take is that anytime these female-led movies underperform, which is often, the studios, not just people, but the studios immediately blame toxic fans. And we know toxic fans means men. That's what they mean. What they mean when they say toxic fans. And look, like I said, most of the criticism of these films is absolutely rooted in sexism. There's no getting around that. I don't have any reason or need or desire to act like that doesn't exist. And like it's not the majority. I mean, you look at, I know plenty of women closely that have been reading comic books on their own, not to get a man, who have been reading comic books, love the characters, love the development, hell, probably developed some characters themselves, right? So who have that deep love of it. I know some who started watching the films a couple years ago. I don't have it. There's no difference between any of them. Love for this is love for this, and I love all of it. But there are fans outside of those chauvinist, sexist, whatever. There are fans who inclusive of those sexists. There are fans who don't want women as leads. There are fans who hate women, as I said earlier, being stronger than men in some of these. There are fans who get mad when those stories aren't centered around men because they feel like it isn't centered around them. These fake, made up characters, by the way, that's the goofiest shit in the world. But anyway, that exists. No argument there. But the problem is that studios hide behind that to avoid their own accountability. And I believe that wholeheartedly. There are fans like me, like me, who want these movies to succeed, right? And we're still walking out of these movies saying that was trash, or even to the point of I'm not even going to go spend my money on that. Right, bad writing isn't empowerment. The pacing of these films be off sometimes. That's not feminism. Over softening a character just to make them likable usually does the opposite. And I feel like they do a lot of that with with these women led roles. So, I mean, I can even get specific, right? Starting with, and I got plenty of examples, but the one that stands out first, and I'll call it, it's not just Captain Marvel, it's Captain Marvel, I'm going to say verse Marvels, right? Two different movies, same character, based around the same character. With Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers is introduced. Now, a little side note for those who don't know, Captain Marvel started as a male. So his name was Marvel. I think he was an alien, or maybe he was human and was imbued with this cosmic. I don't really know the story behind Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel. His name was Marvel, or maybe he was from a different planet, something. But I do know like he died of like regular cancer. Not regular cancer. I'm not trying to lower or say cancer ain't nothing. I'm just saying as this cosmic being, he died of cancer or something like that. And maybe that was just in one part of the multiverse. I don't know. But I know that Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel, and that was a long time ago. So this was an established character. This wasn't we changed it to make it everybody like it. Carol Danvers was Captain Marvel. Cool. She was introduced as confident, powerful, even before she was imbued with this power. She was confident, powerful. She was, you know, not overly making jokes about everything. It was good character. It was a good character development. I felt like they got the right actress for it. She felt like she could be strong and be a leader. Now let me be clear. Captain Marvel the movie was not a great movie. The villain was weak in my opinion. The story, it didn't have good pacing. That's what I keep saying. The story is uneven. And I don't mean that it had to stick directly to the comic book. A lot of these comic books have been out since the 50s and 60s. Go to Superman is since the 40s, I believe. So you can't sit down and take an entire comic book series that's been out for decades, multiple decades, and squeeze it into a movie. I get it. Some things are going to have to change. But it was uneven. But Carol Danvers herself, felt solid. Fast forward to that show, that movie, The Marvels. Same character. Same character, but completely different energy, right? Carol Danvers suddenly feels like super soft, more like nerfed emotionally. Like nerfed, for those who don't know, nerfed is a term that I hear a lot, where like you just saw over soften a character, like the Hulk. They nerfed him in the MCU, and I'm pissed about it because the Hulk is like my second favorite character of all time. That's a whole nother conversation for another. I don't want to get sidetracked. But they made her like less confident. She was less commanding. She didn't feel like a leader type. And I always feel like when they try to humanize males in Marvel and in in Marvel, well Disney, but Marvel and DC, they still make them strong. But when they try for them, it seems like humanizing women means making them weak, and that's not what the character is. It just seems like they don't know how to do it, right? And the movie, it just plays like it can't decide if it's a action film or a sitcom. You got a musical in it. Like what? Come on, dog. A musical? You got these constant like you got these I don't know, these constant attempts at making humor that's undercutting and making like these serious things that are happening seem stupid or seem not that serious anymore. And the tone feels closer to, sure, Disney owns Marvel, but it feels Disney. I was under the assumption that when Disney took over Marvel, it was going to still feel like Marvel. It feels like Disney Channel rather than this cosmic, strong Marvel being. It's just, I could go on and on about that character. Monica Rambeau on the same cast. Wasted potential. Wasted potential. Monica has deep comic book history. Some of it I had to look up, but some of it I knew. Like leadership, she's got levels of trauma, which is good to build the character, but she's got power with it. She's not in any way, shape, or form weak. Her and her mama. Her mama was Marie Rambo. Both of them strong characters, but Monica obviously they delved into more. But it's almost like they just scratched the surface. Even when they introduced her in what was the show, the one with WandaVision, they still just barely scratched the surface with her. But they did an even worse job in this movie. Like it was bad. Like Monica Rambeau, the part that I knew, I had to look up actually when it came out. It came out the same year I was born. So they created her in 1982. She's had plenty of time to be developed. I know that she was a character called Pulsar. She was also at one point Captain Marvel. I didn't know she was also a character called Photon. She was also a character called Spectrum. Like she's got layers. She's got storyline. And she almost just felt like not plot armor. That's not what I want to say. Like plot function, like a part of the plot instead of an actual character. Even though she's one of the leads, like it felt stupid. And I think with this movie, it had three leads, but it didn't give enough time to any of them. And I don't know that you could do that in one movie, but they started doing the DC thing where they were rushing everything, and they didn't build out the characters well enough prior to this film. I think, whatever. And then to the character Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, I think, was actually the best part of it, which and people that know me and have talked to me about Miss Marvel are probably confused right now, but I think she was the best part of it because her character was accurate. Her character was bubbly and goofy and everything was comedy, etc. But she's a teenager. She's supposed to be that way. That's how she is in a comic book. That's how she is in that series. I forced myself to finish that TV series because it was just, I hated it, but I didn't hate it because she was a bad actress. I didn't hate it because it was comically inaccurate. I didn't hate it. It was accurate. There are just some characters you don't like, right? There are characters in Marvel comic books that I read. That's the character they are. I just don't like them. And that's okay. But she was accurate. I think she was supposed to be that. But the problem was they tried to split up her comedic, bubbly bring to it. They tried to split it up amongst everybody. And those other characters weren't supposed to be that. And it made everybody look weak. It wasn't about them being women. It was about the poor character consistency and like it was rushed storytelling. And it ain't just Marvel. Let's jump on that DC. Let's holla at DC. Wonder Woman. Now let's just before I even dig into the two Wonder Woman movies, all of the characters again. This started as a very male led thing, comic books in general. So yes, their writing started out pretty bad for the women. The art, my goodness. All of the art, women had quadruple D's. I don't even know if that's a real thing. I'm sorry. If it's not, I don't know. Quadruple D's, 30, 45 quadruple D's. They all had their tummies showing. They all had their uniforms. These are superhero uniforms. Looked like they were wearing bathing suits and panties. They all had big old, like a butt hanging out of they all had their legs out. It was very sexualized. And it's still kind of drawn that way. But I think with Wonder Woman, just her, something about her just back then, when they created it, or even with the Wonder Woman series, the television show, I forgot the lady's name, but the one in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't corny then because it was then. Now it's corny, but they haven't updated the costume all that much. So yeah, it was kind of corny, but Wonder Woman in the comic books isn't not only an Amazon, right? Let's forget about the fact that she's an Amazonian, so she's physically extremely powerful. She's a demigod. Huh? I bet y'all didn't know that. She's a demigod. Her brother-in-law, or not brother-in-law, her half-brother is the god of war. The friggin' god of war. Her father is Zeus. Now I don't know the Wonder Woman storyline, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was the thing. She, amongst the Amazons, was the strongest because she was a demigod. You mean to tell me she done gone toe to toe with Ares? Yes, her brother, half brother. She is in one storyline killed Superman. Look it up. Look it up, man. But you make her flimsy in this movie. Like, I feel like Gal Gadot was a terrible. Anyway, the first, I had to get that out of the way. The first Wonder Woman, I think the movie was a good start. I did not love it. And I think my dislike for it wasn't the fight scenes, because I think the fight scenes were actually good. I don't think the love interest, I don't think that was a bad part either. I just don't like Gal Gadot. I think she's very monotone acting, not just in her voice, but I mean her acting is very baseline. Like it feels like she gives her absolute least, and she's stiff. She doesn't have a lot of range. It just, I hate to say it, be negative. She might be a great person, but acting wise, I thought was a bad choice. It's like that's another thing that these companies do. They just go with a pretty face. Go harken back to Halle Berry. I love Halle Berry. She should not ever have been cast as Storm. Storm. Storm is one of the strongest mutants that have ever mutated. Do you understand me? An Omega level mutant, for those that don't know, Omega level mutant basically means you are capable of creating extinction level event type shit. Meaning you could end the world, right? She's literally a goddess. Sure, she's a mutant, but she is also literally a goddess. And one of the strongest. I think at one point she gets the powers of Thor too, in addition to what I mean, she is the joint. And you put Halle Berry in there, and then not only did you put Halle Berry in there, she's a great actress in other roles, but then the writing, you had her getting thrown all over the place. Go watch the first X-Men. Halle Berry is getting her ace kicked. Her ace. Her arse. Handed to her ass. She's getting her ass kicked. How are you a goddess of weather? Not just lightning and thunder, of weather. And you getting smacked around. Damn near the whole movie. And then your accent changes in each one. Okay, stay focused. Stay focused. We're talking about Wonder Woman. I'm sorry. It should have been Angela Bassett, by the way, in the 90s. Okay, back to Wonder Woman. I think it was a good start. It had good themes. I think it set up the move towards another Wonder Woman well, even past Gal Gadot's terrible acting. I think it was a grounded tone, but even with her terrible acting, the story worked. Then you have the nerve to come out with Wonder Woman 1984. I saw the previews and I said, there's no way I'm going to the theaters and spending the $700 it seems to take to go to the movies now if you get popcorn. That's before popcorn. There's no way I'm wasting my money on Wonder Woman 1984. I saw it. I don't remember what it was on when I saw it. I might even paid for it to see it at home. I don't remember. I still didn't watch it. You couldn't have paid me to complete it. I think I watched 20 minutes of it. 20, 30 minutes of it. It was it was it was abysmal, right? Yes, abysmal. I enjoy that word. I like that word, abysmal. It was abysmal. I feel like I got to do that with an accent. It was abysmal. It was an abysmal affair. No, it was bad. It was bad. It was worse than bad. It almost seemed like a joke. Like it seemed like they were intentionally making it bad, right? Like the last Matrix. It seemed like it was like a parody, right? It was cartoonish. It was goofy. It 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 was like what Marvel did with Thor: Love and Thunder. That was even more of a tragedy because Thor was actually an amazing group of movies, and then Love and Thunder just shat all over it. But anyway, like it, Wonder Woman 1984 took a epic character line, not necessarily the actress, but the character, and said, never mind, balled it up and threw it in the trash. I feel like sometimes studios think that comedy equals charm, and they forget superheroes need more like gravity. Like this is about superhero. The reason people enjoy superhero movies is because they try to see themselves in it. Everybody wants to see themselves as superheroes, right? I think that's some aspect of it. I mean, I can make a joke, but I can't fly. So I don't want to see somebody up there making jokes because I can do that. I want to see them do stuff that I can't do. I can't run at the speed of light. I can't run so fast I can go back in time. You know what I'm saying? I don't have laser vision. I don't have adamantium because adamantium ain't a real thing, y'all. It ain't a real thing. I don't have claws. I don't have a healer. I don't have any of that stuff. But I can make jokes. I don't want to see y'all do what I can do, right? And the way that I should have said this in the beginning. The way that I want to do these is talk about the worst examples, talk about a middle example, and then talk about a good example because there are good examples too. The Marvels was the worst example. Wonder Woman is a mid example because at least the first one was okay, and then Black Widow. Now Black Widow, I think, was arguably one of the best written female led MCUs because it's only a few, so it's not like it's a whole bunch to choose from. But and the reason why is because the character of Natasha was already fully developed, already had complexity, already had emotional layers, and there were years of character work behind her. And the actress, Scarlett Johansson, was believable. They have to have sex appeal with these characters. She had sex appeal. She was beautiful. She whatever. But she also looked, I believed that she was kicking them dudes' ass. Now, sure, they had a stunt double in there most of the time, but she was still believable because she's still in the acting. She had a badassness of it, but she still had layers. There were emotional connections. Her and Bruce, like her in like the brotherhood type feel to Hawkeye. Her going back to, thinking about the Red Room. Her and her sister, those connections and all that. She still had emotional depth without looking soft, without looking like a weakling, right? The problem, I think, with, and again, it wasn't a terrible movie. The problem with Black Widow was they waited too long, right? That movie should have came out before Endgame. This whole making it a prequel, okay, she's dead. Now let's show the movie just before. That was stupid. I think that was unnecessary, completely unnecessary. It should have come out before Endgame. Instead, it felt more like a footnote. And I think there was talk of it coming out prior to that. I believe. I don't remember because it was a while ago, but that I think they just failed in the execution from a timing standpoint of that. Because I mean, less people cared at that point. Then there's the TV shows. That's a whole nother. Again, I'm gonna go with the formula of absolutely terrible to to better. And I'm going to start with She-Hulk. She-Hulk was a She-Hulk was a mess. I'm gonna just say trash, easily trash. I don't say it lightly. In the comics, I think I mentioned before, I have two She-Hulk comic books. She-Hulk was just strong, powerful, confident, intelligent, right? She's kind of a jerk in some instances. Like she just did what she wanted to do, and I appreciated that. She didn't apologize. She was unapologetic, right? And I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in whatever comments there are in that. I believe, because I don't know the storyline that well, she, in some instance, she is stronger than some of the instances of the Hulk. Because we know the Hulk had different stages, and I'm not talking about like the different Hulks, like Amadeus Cho and Thunderbolt and whomever else. But there were different iterations of Bruce Banner's Hulk. Now, was she as strong as, all of the Hulks? No. But there, I think it had something to do with how because she didn't get, I believe it was that she didn't get exposed to gamma radiation like Bruce Banner. She got like a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner or something like that. I think that's how it was. But there were some iterations where she was stronger than him. And think about, even if they were level or he was a little bit stronger, she was faster. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe she was faster. I don't know. But she's got the Hulk strength, right? She should have been kind of cocky. I think that would have been a dope. I think she would have been a much likable character. But instead, they went this nerf gimmicky punchline. They made her a punchline. And I was saying this, I've said this to somebody else before. I felt like it was like I was watching Ally McBeal. I watched maybe 2 episodes and just couldn't take it anymore. They made a complete joke of it. It just felt like a sitcom. It felt like Ally McBeal meets Dawson's Creek meets. It felt like the Supergirl, not the movie that's coming out, which I would like to do a review of the. I'll be doing a review eventually of the trailer that's come out, but it felt like Supergirl, the one that was on. I don't know if it was WB. I think it was WB, but that felt gimmicky. It felt goofy. It felt like the same thing. You take this super strong Kryptonian character who's got most of the strength of Superman, and you make her a goofball. I don't know. I don't know. Again, the characters were nerfed. It reminds me of, like I said, all of those WB DC shows. Now I know some people who swear by those shows. They love those shows. I hated all of them because like the characters were fluffy, the costumes looked cheap. The costumes on those WB like Green Arrow and the Flash, they look like if I was to go to Party City for Halloween and get a costume, it's the same one. Like they look terrible. Go back and look at some of them. They just look terrible. And then they so I know that Deadpool does a lot of the breaking the fourth wall. I think they do a little too much in those movies, but they created Deadpool's character is supposed to be comedic, comicky. Is comicky a word? Comicky, comical, comical. I might need to go back and edit that out. He's supposed to be a funny dude. Even in the midst of killing people, he's supposed to be a funny dude. That's how the comic was written. But now they're trying to apply that to everybody. Thor is not supposed to be funny. She-Hulk is not supposed to be funny. And they're doing, now it's everybody's thing. It was just too much. The breaking the fourth wall thing, talking to the camera, talking to the audience, that should just stick with one character that was built to do that. So that was bad. That was terrible. Then mid and Echo. Now Echo, I gotta be honest, I never finished it. And it wasn't because it was super terrible. It wasn't any. It was just boring. And I think the problem with doing it's a superhero movie, so it can't be boring. It's not supposed to be boring, right? I have expectations if it's a superhero film, whether it's Marvel, whether it's DC, EU, whether it's that show, that old show Heroes, whether it's any of these things, regardless of who the character is, I need some some kind of action or drama right up front, and it was kind of boring to me. Also, I can admit I don't know the character. So if I know the character and the first, say, 2 episodes are trash, I'm at least holding on because I know it's going to get there. I know it's going to get there for me eventually. But I don't know this character, so I need something to grab me immediately, and this just didn't do it. But it wasn't, I saw the potential. I say that. It didn't grab me in the first 2 episodes, but I saw the potential of where it could go, especially her connections to other storylines. I saw the potential. And again, they kept her, she seemed tough, but with layers. She had a soft side without being overall just soft and weak. So that's the mid. Then we move to the great. I'm gonna say great, Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones should not only be the blueprint of how you write women-led television shows for superheroes. She should have been that should have been the blueprint for all of them. That should have been the blueprint for all of them. I'm talking Iron Fist was garbage. Jessica it should have wrote it like Jessica Jones. Luke Cage was dope, but I think I'm gonna just be real. I think my melanin just got me excited about it because the acting wasn't that great. I think the mixture of the music and the mixture of the music and my excitement that this black character was the lead had me see past some of the flaws. I think the first season was good. The second, nah. I watched the whole thing, but Jessica Jones was extremely well done. They had trauma in there. She had a lot of like real trauma in there, but it didn't make her soft, right? She was overly guarded, which is human. It's not just men who hide their feelings. Women can do it too, right? And that was part of her issue. That's the part that made her human. Not again, I feel like sometimes when these studios make female characters human, they think to make them human, they got to make them soft and weak. No, no. So I mean, she was flawed without being goofy and foolish and infantilized almost. Like the writing seemed to like respect her strength and her pain. Like she was tough, but she had hella layers. She didn't apologize for her edge. Like she didn't, they didn't over explain things. It's just it was well written. I think it was very very well written. And I'm gonna be real. Seeing the previews, I didn't think I was gonna like it. It's one of my favorite TV TV series. Now, could that be because it was created before Disney took Marvel? Very possible. But whatever. I think the truth that gets brushed under the rug because it's easy to throw dramatics out there and pit men versus women and women versus men. But I think the truth out there is that I think the studios don't trust either it could be one of these or all of these. I think the studios don't trust the characters themselves, like the character that they pulled out to play. I don't think they trust that people will take on and enjoy these characters, but they do it anyway because they feel like they want to be inclusive. I don't think that, and that's just your writing. Write your way through it. I don't think that they always trust the actresses to portray what it is they're trying to get across. And I don't think they trust, which I can understand why, because again, there's a lot of chauvinist comic book fans, to be completely honest, and racist, and racist. Let's not forget them. But I don't think they trust the fans to flock to this if they write it like they would write a male character. But you don't try it. If you don't try it, you won't know. One thing is for sure, your character base that are the racist, misogynists, they feel like they're right now in these women leads because you're writing it so terrible. At least give them something written well. They'll probably still say the same thing. But at least you'll have other people gravitate to them. If somebody has been dealing with Marvel, has been fooling with Marvel or DC since they were 10, 8, 8, 9, 10, 10 years old, Writing a few female characters is not going to get them away. They're going to get on their little YouTube or their little podcast. They're going to talk shit about it, and then they're going to watch the next thing that comes out. So you've kept your regular fan base happy, right? Because you got all types of other stuff they can get with, and now you're bringing in a new fan base while still doing good stories, good storylines. You know, I feel like because they don't trust these characters, they over explain the character, they over joke, right? Everything's a joke. They over soften them and they underdevelop them. That's the thing about comic book movies. You already have the script. This shit has already been written. These characters have already been created. All you got to do is take the source material, right? Change it into a movie, but you already have a blueprint created, right? Monica Rambeau ain't never been soft. Soft. I ain't even put a T in it. She ain't never been soft, right? Carol Danvers ain't never been soft. So why are you making them that? If you felt like you needed to put a soft element in, Miss Marvel is that. That's how she was written. But now you're making them all that way, and it makes it look like you think to humanize women means to make them weak. And that's nobody wants to see that on film. And I heard that they were making a film about the Dora Milaje. I don't know how true that is, but if you over soften the Dora Milaje, I mean I'm not really gonna actually do anything. I'm not gonna watch it if I hear that it's softened, but I'm just gonna be really mad.
I'm gonna write a very upset letter. I'm gonna check it twice, single spaced, right? I might expand the margins a bit just to make sure that I get everything on that one page. Maybe one or two pages.
And I'm gonna ask for somebody's manager. I'm gonna ask to speak to the manager is what I'm gonna do. But as I said, I could come up with other examples. I could talk this into the ground. And talking about it with myself is one thing. This would be something great to have a fellow comic book blerd next to me of the fairer sex. This would be great to have a comic book blerd that, honestly, this would be great to talk about with anybody. Somebody who's not in the comic books, but is has been a human being on Earth for more than 25, 35 years could have a great perspective on this because this is obviously a deeper issue than just comic books, male or female. So I definitely see this going into different things, branching out into other conversations with more examples. But I don't know. Sometimes I get up on this mic and just talk and shit. So I guess that's what this. I guess that's what this is. So I think if the studios want these types of movies to work, like I said, respect the source material. Let women be flawed without being soft, right? Let them be flawed. And I don't. And when I say soft, everybody can have a softness that's positive, but let them be flawed without being weak. That's what I want to say. Because when you write male characters, they all got flaws. Wolverine is my favorite character. He ain't got nothing but flaws, but he's never weak. Another thing, stop hiding behind comedy. Stop covering up terrible writing with comedy. And then on top of that, stop covering up terrible writing by blaming the fans. Yes, a lot of those fans are trash human beings, but they're going to be there. They're not going nowhere. Stop continuing to write trash and making them right or making them feel like they're right. Right? Because then when they go to Rotten Tomatoes, they feel like, oh, see, I told you. When they go, and see the bad reviews or the low money that it made, they'll be like, oh, see, I told you. And then you're creating a larger group of anti-fans, right? Because then you got people like me who are pissed off that you keep writing women terribly. And then as soon as we see a preview, we're like, yeah, that's going to be trash, right? And we may even go support it, or we may not. But now you continue to make sure that your woman-led films aren't getting the exposure that they should because you keep writing them like trash. And that's my blurred brain take. You understand? If you rocked with this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Drop your thoughts respectfully, because I don't play that shit. Because this conversation, like I said, is not going anywhere. We can have this probably 3, 4, 10 more times, and it'd be different. So, as far as I can tell, I'm still Moses, and this has been the Blerd Brain Podcast. I'll talk to you.